Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, MrDiceGuy.com, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Ian.
And on this episode, I'll be talking about Great Western Trail.
And matey, I'm going to be talking about Maracaibo.
Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street in Saskatoon. They are the winner of the Joe Shuster Award for Best Comic Book Store in Canada, and they were also nominated in 2016 for the U.S. Eisner Spirit of Comics Retailer Award presented at Comic-Con. Amazing Stories' amazing collection of comic books, board games, puzzles, and collectibles can be found in their store or on their new online website. Welcome back to Cardboard Conjecture. We are going straight into thinking, doing, playing board games. Ryan, start us up. Or Ian. Doesn't matter to me.
No, do Ian. I want to hear what he has to say.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So I'm doing... All right, here we go. Get ready for this. It's rant time.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about game names, because there's been a big news story lately about, well, not a big board game related news story. It's not like CNN is covering it or anything, but about Queen Games coming out with the Steffenfeld collection. And me and Ryan had been talking about this, and we saw that, hey, they reprinted Bruges. Well, we like Bruges. I like Bruges, but they called it, was it Hamburg?
Hamburg.
Yep. They decided, we're going to name it Hamburg now. Okay. So I guess it's fine that we just changed the names of things. It already existed as this, but now we're going to call it this. So that made me think about board game names in general. And I don't know why, but I just get caught up on this kind of little stuff. And I decided I'm going to come up with my rules for naming games, in case anybody cares for my opinion, which I'm sure nobody does.
I do.
I'm interested.
So I came up with a few rules for naming games. And I'm also going to give some offenders against this rule that really bug me.
Cool.
Some hand slapping. Yay!
Okay. Now the first rule, and I know I'm definitely in the minority here, but that's okay. Subtitles should be used sparingly, if at all. I actually think that subtitles should only be used in sequels, like Ticket to Ride Europe, or expansions, of course. It makes sense for something like expansions. Otherwise, they are not needed, and all they do is make your game name convoluted. Some bad offenders for this. One of the worst named games I've ever heard is Kingdom Death Monster. It doesn't make any sense. What's a Kingdom Death Monster? What is that? Well, no, it's Kingdom Death, monster. Well, just having monster as a subtitle, what? It's dumb. The one that really bugs me is a game that I actually really, really like. It's Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Well, let's break this down. If you just call the game Deception, well, that is overly general, right? That could be about anything.
And it probably could have been taken already.
Yeah. If you call the game Murder in Hong Kong, that's a good name. Murder in Hong Kong is a great name. It tells you, we're dealing with a murder in Hong Kong, and that's what the game is about. You're trying to solve a murder. Makes sense.
All right.
So just call it Murder in Hong Kong. Why give it... Now it's just a subtitle. The real, actual good title is now just a subtitle. Subtitles, don't use them. They're not necessary. What do you guys think?
How about Zolkin The Mayan calendar.
Yeah, just Zolkin. That's all you need. That's all I say. That's all you need.
Robinson Crusoe. Adventures on the Cursed Island.
Sounds
all
like
you're doing is making it
story.
longer.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like if you can't give you don't see too many song titles have 3 sentences afterwards.
No.
I get it.
I don't even like it when movies do it, honestly, either. Okay, rule number 2. New editions are not new games. So please don't reference the fact that it's a new edition into the name of the game.
I know which one you're talking about here.
Here are some examples. The new edition of Eclipse is called Eclipse. What is it called again?
Second Dawn.
Second Dawn of a whatever. No.
So they break 2 rules there. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
All
Also,
right.
what is it? CO2, the game that we were having
Second
troubles
chance.
with in our last episode. A second chance.
Yeah.
Well, now where was the first? Why don't I have CO2 the first chance in my collection? Why don't?
Oh, right.
where's
Now
the
we're back to
second
this.
chance coming
I've got the
from?
first chance. I think Ryan has the second chance. So you got a chance of playing either of them. But don't.
High Frontier is a game that's supposed to be very, very complicated, and a lot of people rave about it. The new edition, which is the
They're
4th edition,
sadists.
they decided to call High Frontier for all. What? Terrible. But probably the worst board game name I have ever heard comes from this category. Have you guys ever heard of Factory Fun? It's an old gold game.
Maybe.
It's like, I don't know. I've never played it, but it's an old game. But they decided with their new edition, they actually called the game Factory Funner. Which might be the worst game name I've ever heard.
Not only are you breaking a grammatical thing that you just don't do.
It's brutal. So there we go. Do not refer to new editions in the game title.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm on with you with that one.
Rule number 3. Do not reference the game mechanics in the title. This one might be a little bit more controversial. An example is role player or dice thrown. I don't want the components or the actual game mechanisms in the name of the game. I think I'm probably alone on that one, but
that's interesting. I never would have thought about that one.
It drives me nuts. I don't like it.
But do you like it when they throw in like the dice game or the
Not
card
really.
game?
No, but I understand that that's necessary.
Or even just like they just refer to it as like something the board game.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. That's like for movies too. It's like the Muppet movie. Oh, I don't know. don't do that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I guess I have to throw in the 4th one is don't change the names of games. If a game is a game, it's a game. It has a name. Don't change the name of the game. There we go. Rant over.
That was very
Hey.
Dennis Miller rant like. I was loving it.
Cool.
It is awesome.
I just think, I don't know. I don't like. Sometimes I think board game names get a little convoluted. If you have a nice, simple, easy board game, they refer to what it is, and you're good to go.
Keep it
Underwater
clean.
Cities, I know what that's about, and it's a pretty straightforward name.
Root.
Cool. Okay. I had a chance to one of my favorite pastimes is drinking coffee. If everybody knows me, and I've been referred to many times as a coffee snob. Yes, I have. So it comes with great pleasure that I tell you about Coffee Roaster.
Good name. Good
Designed
name.
by Sashi, I think I got it, and published by Stronghold Games. This is a one-person game. What it's about is you're a coffee roaster who's trying to make the perfect cup of coffee, roasting the beans, adding and removing flavor and bad beans. how long you keep roasting the beans, making sure to have the finest flavor. You're on the razor's edge of not burning the beans, but trying to get the maximum amount of flavor points, kind of thing. Then comes the testing and scoring of your cup of coffee. Depending on how you've strategically roasted your coffee, you may have some options to heighten and maximize the tasting process. So I just talked to you about theme. How is all of this done? This fantastic game and stressful is a bag builder, where depending on the coffee orders you selected at the beginning of the game that you have to fulfill, different types of country coffees, so on and so forth, and different flavor range points that you're trying to get. So you select these orders, and you fill your bags with tokens that represent the raw coffee beans, the flavor, the water. Maybe sometimes you have some bad burnt beans in there. And each round is sort of like the time the beans are spent in the roaster. So each round, you dig a certain amount of coffee beans out of the bag, and you basically go through an aging process, and you age these beans, and then you take some beans out to replace them with other flavor beans. And there's a cool kind of, the flavor tokens represent different actions that you can take on how to manipulate these beans in this process. So it's your typical bag builder. You're taking out, you're modifying, you're putting back in. Sometimes you're emptying beans and you're thinning down that bag so that you know what's in there. You're trying to remove a whole lot of bad chaff that's in there. Each round you draw from the bag, you make your edits and changes, then continue the rounds, upgrade. So you're pushing your luck, because each round the numbers of roasted beans in this bag increases, and the coffee order that you're trying to hit has a certain number, that once you pull out the certain amount of beans for your tasting, you're trying to hit that target number. And man, there's some tense moments in this game. It's one of my top bag builders that I love to play. This was originally, it's a game from Asia. I know that for sure. I don't know if it was Japan or North Korea or what kind of title, but I know it was from Asia. And a lot of these games are coming over that have these really cool themes. I believe the same designer designed a game about standing in line in front of elevators, right? And it was like sold out all over the place. So this is Coffee Roaster, Stronghold Games, designed by Sashi. I don't know if you guys have ever played this at all.
Is it strictly solitaire?
It's a strictly solitaire game, and it plays. You've got 3 phases. You got your, depending on your first phase, it kind of like a tech tree. If you did very well, you get to go into this next order phase. If you did very well, you get to go into this next order phase, and it gives you different powers and different abilities. And yeah, I know it's a great game. It's one, like I said, it's if someone was to say, if I say to myself, do I want to play Orléans solo game or do I want to play Coffee Roaster solo game? Boom, I'm on Coffee Roaster. It's fast, it's quick setup, and it all the choices are so good. And the best thing about a solo game, I get trashed on a regular basis. I suck at this game sometimes. Right. But it's that adrenaline push your luck, I think, is so much fun. Yeah. Nice. So once again, if you guys ever want to borrow it, it's available.
Cool.
Yeah,
I've seen it on the shelf a few times. Picked it up and read it about it a couple times, but I've got a lot of other solo games that.
Well, that's what I mean. You can borrow it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
And Ryan, what do you got going on, man?
Well, people might know from the intro that we're kind of on an Alexander Pfister kick with our reviews here with Great Western Trail and Maracaibo today. So actually this past weekend, Jen and I played some of his other games, just because I was like, you know what, we're doing Great Western Trail and Maracaibo. I'm going to play some other games. Like we played Port Royal, we played Isle of Skye, and then we also played this other one that I always forget how how much I actually enjoy this game. It's Broom Service, and it was the 2015 Kennerspiel de Jarez winner. And really all you're doing in this game is you're just moving some witches across the board and dropping off potions to collect victory points, which I don't know, it's kind of a unique, kind of a neat theme. But what really I like about this game, and I don't know if either of you have played this one, but there's a really unique action selection mechanism here where every player has the same set of 10 cards.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do on a round is you pick 4 of those 10 cards to play. And every card comes with a cowardly action and a brave action. And so when I say I have the fruit gathering card, which is just kind of a resource gathering type of card, I can say I am the cowardly fruit gatherer. And then I just get to do that action. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
The minor action kind of thing, yeah.
But if I claim that I'm the brave fruit gatherer, well, now we got to go around the table, and if anybody else has a fruit gatherer card, they can play and say, no, I am the brave fruit gatherer, and now I don't get to do anything.
Ooh,
right.
That's right. Yeah,
and then they get kind of like trump on the action, but it keeps going around the table, as in saying, no, maybe the last person that's sitting to my right says, no, actually, I'm the brave fruit gatherer. Now, no one got to take the action except for them. It's kind of really, really neat. So you got to really pay attention to what your opponents, where your opponents are on the board and what resources your opponents have, because that's going to give you some possible insight on what cards they might select for their future actions. So they could possibly either rob you of your actions if you want to be brave, or there's another thing. I might have my 4 cards picked out and I want to play them in this exact order, but somebody's going to say the Weather Fairy, and I don't want to play the Weather Fairy until my last card. But as soon as they say it, I have to take that action now around the table. So they could totally mess up your program that you kind of created in your mind. But that's heartbreaking when somebody robs you of your action, or they totally mess up your plan. Like,
I want the major reward. You don't get anything now.
Yeah. So Broom Service, it's definitely on the lighter end of Alexander Pfister's more recent titles.
It was an award winner too, wasn't it?
But it was the Kennerspiel Award winner for 2015, and then in 2016, Isle of Skye won the Kennerspiel. So, some of these earlier lighter titles, these more family weight, this is kind of like more of like a medium type deal. It's really, really good. I highly recommend Broom Service to a lot of it. And it was a re-implementation of, I think, another game called Witch's Brew.
All right.
There's an earlier edition. So they changed the name, Ian.
This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Dragon's Den Games, located in the Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon. Swing by Dragon's Den Games and let Darren, Al, and the awesome staff help you out in search for great board games, role-playing games, miniature systems, and all of the related accessories. Be a part of their gaming communities that have scheduled events in their great gaming area. Dragon's Den Games, Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon. And we are back. This is Cardboard Conjecture, and this is time for the reviews. We are, like Ryan said, we are in an Alexander Pfister mood today. And it's time. I'm going to start us off with some... I'm not even going to try and get thematic with the sounds here because I was going to be all, yeah, right? But I just did it. Oh, no. We're going to do that.
There's a snake in my boots.
There's a rattlesnake in my boot. Great Western Trail by Alexander Pfister, published by Eggert Spiel and Stronghold. 2 to 4 players. The sweet spot, in my opinion, is 2 or 3 players. It plays anywhere from an hour and a bit to 3 hours. And if you even dare go 4 players, be prepared for a long game. The BGG scales it at a medium heavy game, and I'm quite in agreement with that. It can get
And it passes my naming rules.
And it
so
passes,
we're good to go.
Yeah, there we go. True. The nuts and bolts of this. So let's see. The nuts and bolts is America in the 19th century. You are a rancher and repeatedly herd your cattle from Texas to Kansas City, where you send them off by train. This earns you money and victory points. Needless to say, each time you arrive in Kansas City, you want to have your most valuable cattle in tow. However, the Great Western Trail not only requires that you keep your herd in good shape, but also that you wisely use the various buildings along the trail. Also, it might be a good idea to hire capable staff, cowboys to improve your herd, craftsmen to build your very own buildings, or engineers for the important railroad line. If you cleverly manage your herd and navigate the opportunities and pitfalls of Great Western Trail, you surely will gain the most victory points and win the game. Wasn't that beautiful?
The most wins the game.
The most, yeah, like it's different. It's different. So the go through, like it was said, it's a cattle herding game based on a rondel track driven by a deck building, set collecting, hand management, point-to-point movement system. That was a lot in one breath.
There's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of things going on. But like I said, my opinion, this is a rondel track kind of game with a lot of stuff hooked up to it. Your cards are the cattle in this game and the commodity that run this beautiful engine. You sprinkle in the idea of this worker-ish placement on public buildings or buildings that you build, depending on the labor pool that is available to you. And like all good Euros, can you afford these workers to hire? Let's continue with the labor pool. You can hire cowboys that work your cattle engine and power up your ability to purchase cattle at greater value and victory points for those cattle at the end of the game. You can hire carpenters that help you build your own buildings that offer special actions only to you and sometimes cause a cost to other players to pass. I have been brutalized many times by having to pay a toll by other people's buildings. You can hire an engineer who works with you on your ability to move your cattle down the track for deliveries once they have reached Kansas City. And as in all good Euros, the higher up the track you go, the bonus victory points you may gain. So everything is max out those tracks. Try to push those meters into the red. Trains. Did someone say another mechanism? This is the connection. Yeah, here we go. With your engineer, as well as delivering your herd to Kansas City, your cattle must have value, and upgrading the value of your herd is done along the cattle trail to Kansas City. Upon delivery and the valuing of your herd, you deliver the cattle down the line to several destinations that grant positive and negative bonuses. I have flourished in the negative bonus category. Bad cattle herds. By moving your train on the track and advancing the power of your ability to make greater deliveries, you, as in, like I said, most good Euros, you can get more victory points as much as you push this meter down the line. Your buildings along the trail. While moving your cattle down the trail, you have to stop at several destinations to take advantage of hiring more staff, getting carpenters to work, going to cattle auctions. This worker-ish placement is sometimes a race. Sometimes, like in the game that Ryan might mention, sometimes people step on the gas a little too hard and advance the game a little too fast. So you got to clutter the board with some buildings. These buildings also add to this idea of variable player powers, because you are basically starting to buff up your cattle driving ability different than the others at the table. And when the game when the end of game condition is triggered, the winner with the most VPs wins the game, like all good Euros. So the opinions now, the outside inside. This is first. I'm going to start off with the biggest flaw, but then the rest of the game is beautiful. It's a ticket to ride size box with the strangest and scariest mannequin-like people that would give you scary dreams. It's a cross between Yul Brynner and a bulldog.
Yeah, the box cover art is, I'll say, unique.
Yeah,
and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Yeah,
You're not buying this game on the box art.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You just kind of, if you squint, you just kind of can blur it out a little bit. But yeah, cross between Earl Brenner and a bulldog. That's pretty much the the charisma of those three individuals.
I never really paid attention to that before.
There we go.
Boy, the bearded guy is just frightening.
See, you're gonna have scary dreams now, man.
Dear.
You don't look at it. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Yep. This box is laying flat
on
my shelf so that you can't see.
You're edging it, man. There's no showing off the artwork on this one. And I'm sorry to the artist. I don't mean to demean you, but bad dreams. The excellent cardboard components. The cards are, I have zero complaints about the components. Just standard Euro goodness. The rule book, well, let's talk about. It's not easy to get through. There's a lot of finicky fringe rule cases that are hard. It's sort of like, one question is answered in an example bubble on the other page, but then you have to sometimes go back and reread that initial sentence and think, did they mean this? And if they meant this, then that rule makes sense. But if it doesn't, so I had to go to BGG. I went to the forums.
I agree, because we played this the other night and I had to look up some rules.
And you've probably played it several times too.
And it's a mess. It jumps all over the place. And I was it has no logical flow.
It's like a cognitive Jackson Pollock painting. It's all there, but it's all scattered all over the place, right?
Where I thought I was going to find this one particular rule, it was not where I was where I thought I was supposed to be looking.
Right? Oh, but if you could get past that, and you can get it into the head, and you get past I like to refer to as the by the way moments, like, by the way, I forgot this. We got to back up a bit. You need to get this and this and this, right? If you can get past all those, it's awesome, right? The game system, the game style all work for me. The theme integrates well with the mechanisms, and depending on the way you look at it, it can be a race game, a rondelle game, a resource management game, a deck building game, blah, 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 blah. But as far as the unique mechanisms, there's nothing really kind of groundbreaking. But I would say that the integration of so many sub mechanisms to create a vibrant system is what I think is unique about this game, right? It's a rondelle transmission with a whole lot of peripheries hooked up to this thing, and it hums nice if you get it humming properly. So the game mechanisms, once this works, allow the theme to play out extremely well in this game, right? Once you can get this all cylinders humming perfectly. My conclusion, I mean, overlooking the rule thing, for me, it's top shelf game. And I'm just talking about the base game. I haven't even gotten into the expansion yet. I'm a big fan of the expansion, but Ryan and I were talking about it, and it's like sometimes you don't need this expansion. The base game is awesome on its own. There's so much variability. You can start up in different places. You can put the public buildings in different orientations. You don't even need the expansion to have fun with this game. It's a great example of a modern Euro. One of my favorite games without question. If someone says, "Hey, let's play Great Western Trail," and I want to play something else, done. That other game set aside, I'll happily play this game. Solid game, solid designer, solid reputation. That's Great Western Trail, Alexander Pfister.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too. That this is it's a blend of a bunch of like non-unique things. Like it's got deck building. I have deck builders. Point-to-point movement. I've got other games that I have to go around Dell and point-to-point movement. Oh, there's other things where it's got player boards that you can upgrade and unlocks new
set
actions.
Collecting.
I got things. Yeah, but you nailed it. That he integrates those things so
It's
well
into
one package.
Beautiful buffet. Ian, are you a Great Western Trail? Hurt 'em up.
I think I played it once, a long time ago.
And what's your conjecture?
I don't remember a lot.
Is that
I
a good thing or a
do-
bad thing, though?
I do remember I liked the cow card collecting, but that's all I remember.
All right.
Yeah,
It
no,
was. It wasn't moving.
I would like to play it again. I will say that.
yeah,
I
because
just
there's a lot of people that'll say that as a begin. I always kind of tend as a beginner.
Yeah.
I always say go the collect the cattle
Mhm.
strategy.
Yeah.
Because it's very viable. You do get a lot of points and a lot of potential of making later deliveries.
There's so many people who go, oh yeah, the cattle strategy, and every time I play, I mean, this is one of those games I like so much that I'll try I'll try the stuff that people say, oh, don't do this one, it'll never work for you. I'm going to try that, and
Yeah,
I'm going
like
to try.
I just played a game where I said I've never won using the engineer strategy,
Yeah.
pushing my train down the track.
Yeah.
I did it this time.
Yeah,
And it was
all of a
fun.
sudden, all of a sudden, things in your brain opened up and went, wait, this and this
wait.
connect and this and oh, I should start dumping cards now. Now, if your train's down the track, that whole kind of extra actions about, well, if I move my train back, I can I can thin my deck, right? So
Yeah.
now the
And then there's
train itself becomes a resource commodity.
And there's more personal buildings that can possibly help you push your train down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, it's got. I like it. It's got a good mix of all these little things.
Yeah, I mean, because it's pushing. It's not heavy, but it's pushing on the heavy side. I wouldn't recommend.
Oh no,
going
yeah,
four
it's
players
a complex game.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't go 4 players unless all these players none of them had analysis paralysis, because that would be a long game.
they can get pretty long, right? Like I've seen them played at conventions and things, and
yeah, those 4-player games are pushing like the 3.5 hour to 4 hour.
2 players fun
sometimes,
right? Because it's like a chess thing, and it turns into a race. 3-player, that's when I think 3-player for me is the favorite, because it's not long. You have enough going on the board and enough people in your way and enough people causing some chaos that you can start having fun with your hand and building your deck and the buildings and the trains and yeah.
This episode is proudly supported by the amazing team at Breakout Escape and Board Game Lounge from right here in Saskatoon. Using industry-leading technology, Breakout Escape's escape rooms are all 100% uniquely designed by the team, ensuring their patrons have maximum fun while staying safe. As well, they are a fully licensed board game lounge with over 400 titles to select from to ensure fun for every gamer, new and experienced. Be sure to check them out at breakoutsask.com. At Breakout Escapes and Game Lounge, they believe that life is more fun when you play games.
Ryan, you got us some more Alexander Pfister. What'd be going on?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about his 2019 release, which was published here in North America by Capstone Games, and I'm going to be talking about Maracaibo. And this one's playing 1 to 4 players, and they're saying it takes roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours, which is, I think, once you know the game, I think you're probably hitting that mark with the 2 to 3 players once you know the game. I'll get into that. Okay, so Maracaibo. I got the little rule book thing here. So the Caribbean in the 17th century, various European nations vie for supremacy and try to improve their economic and political standings in the region. You are seafarers and adventurers who spend your days trying to increase your own standing amongst these countries, to improve your networks, and of course obtain some fame and fortune. Doing so is a lot of work, since the competition isn't taking any days off. Only if you manage to pull your plans off without a hitch will victory be within your grasp. There are different strategies to follow. You could upgrade your boat to a mighty ship, win sword fights, go on raids, set up a network of minions and informants, raise an expedition, and possibly more. But be careful, you will need to plan your actions carefully. The end of a round can come sooner than you want. Okay, so Maracaibo, much like what Norm just talked about with Great Western Trail, Maracaibo is a complex game with a lot of very interconnected moving pieces. The key to this game is to try to be able to find synergies and combos amongst the very basic actions and to score you the optimal amount of victory points. Ian, I think this one is the most victory points wins.
Okay, I hope so.
These very basic actions, like I mentioned, revolve around this main mechanic of which you're going to move your boat around this board. And on your turn, this is kind of crazy. You get to move your boat 1 to 7 spaces. That I thought that was always a kind of a unique number, like how fast you can actually move your boat along this track. And then
but you actually end up really being thankful for that choice when you play it, right? Did you find that?
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to move 6 spaces, but sometimes I only want to move 4.
Yeah, so it actually becomes quite a pretty good feature of the game. I think I like it.
Yeah, so when after you've moved your spaces, you're gonna stop. And I like this. You're gonna stop in one of 2 different types of spots. You're gonna stop in a city, or you're gonna stop in a village. When you stop in a city, you can make a delivery, which each city location has a limited number of delivery spots that you can make depicting a certain type of good, and you got a hand of cards. And part of the information on those cards is a little good symbol, so you can discard that good to make a delivery to this particular city. And what are you doing when you make a delivery is what you're going to be doing is you're going to be upgrading your ship by taking these little round discs off your ship and possibly, hopefully, trying to unlock some different actions or bonus actions or victory points or something along the lines as you're upgrading your ship. But regardless if you've made a delivery at this city, you get to take the city action. And there's a bunch of different city actions that you can possibly take. The second thing that you can stop in is you can stop in a village. And while you're in a village, you can do 1 to 3 things. Depending on how many movement spaces you took to get to that village, you get to either take 1, 2, or 3 village actions. And a village action is buy a card. So get to play a card from your hand or your reserve space. You can gain a dollar, or I guess in this case they're doubloons, or you can discard your entire hand to gain 2 doubloons. But you can gain better and different village actions by unlocking them off your player board. But those are the 3 basic ones that everybody has at the very beginning. Also, at these village spots, you could possibly have an assistant. So one of those cards you played could have possibly placed an assistant in that location that could give you a personal action spot at that location that you can take. Also, at these village locations, you could also have a quest tile, and that's just easy. There's a couple icons on the quest tile that if you have them on your card or cards, you can discard them, and then you get to fulfill the quest and get whatever the bonus that says on that quest.
I like the assistant thing. I thought that was a really interesting idea where you can put a person in a specific spot on the board, and then every time you visit that, you get bonuses. Yeah, I thought that was really cool because it gives you like something to look forward to your next time around the board. And
yeah, and you are the only person that can use that you've got your own space. Now, it's kind of like Great Western Trail too. You can build buildings onto and then you personally benefit from those buildings. But here, they don't clog up the trail like in Great Western Trail. They just are there, and you can stop there.
Yeah.
But, now, like I said, there's a lot going on in this game. I'm not going to be able to hit everything, but there's 3 major things that I want to be able to kind of like highlight as what you're going to try to accomplish during gameplay. The big one that people are going to draw attention to is creating the tableau of cards. Kind of like these people that you are hiring as part of your crew. And you're hoping that these crew members and these cards synergize together to create, money or money income or victory points income or assistant actions or improve the efficiency of other actions you're going to be taking. That's what these crew cards are going to be doing. That's kind of like that's the heart of this game, is building a tableau of these crew members. One type of action you'll encounter is to go exploring. There's a whole explore track at the bottom of the board. And you can move your meeple along there as long as you take a explore action. And what you're going to get here is you're going to get money or victory points or quests or some sort of other goodies. There's some good bonuses here. So I don't think you can completely ignore the exploration track. But there are strategies in this game where you don't have to push yourself very far and still be able to do well in this game. But there are some good things with doing some exploring. And then lastly, there's the big thing is that there's this combat action. And this is kind of like one that when you hear combat, like you mean, oh, we're going to fight. Well, that's not what this game combat is. Combat is you're going to be pledging allegiance to one of the countries, England, Spain, or France, and you're going to fight on their behalf. And what they're going to do is possibly conquer or take over a section or a location on the board. The bottom line is what you're going to be doing also with these combat is you're going to be gaining influence. Whoever you choose to fight for, you're going to gain influence in that particular country. And the more presence you have and the more locations that they've taken over on the board are going to equal big points for you at the end of the game. This is one thing that I highlight to players, that you don't want to ignore these influence tracks. You're probably going to want to push up at least 2 of those tracks to try to be competitive in the end of game scoring process. And now there's a lot more. There's so much more to this game. It's complex. There's lots of different things, but I think those are the big ones that are happening in this game. Would you agree with that, Ian?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so let's go with the opinion. So, like Great Western Trail, this is boxed in your standard size Euro big box. We always call it the Ticket to Ride size box. So it fits nicely with all my other big box Euro games, which I always kind of like. Here we go again with the art. We're not really big fans of the art this episode, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be ranting and raving about the art in this game. It's a very typical Euro. Art is fine. It fits the theme, great. But it's not the talking point that I'm going to be for this particular game. It's just okay. The box cover doesn't really jump out at you on the on the shelf. It's kind of got the big ship's wheel and little kind of piece of the Caribbean in the background. It's okay in my opinion.
It's not the same cool looking people as Great Western Trail.
I'm not going to get nightmares looking at this one.
I do like the color palette though. It's nice bright colors that work.
Yeah, like I said, it's fine. It's just
it matches the
jumping
theme.
At me. Yeah, it's not jumping at me.
Yeah.
Components. There's a lot of them, but they are nice. We got the good card stock, the nice thick tiles, the wooden components. They're great. I have a complaint here about the fiddliness of the components. This could be an issue for some people. First, the little wooden discs on your player boards, which I might add at setup, you have to stack in 12 stacks of 2. All over and if you're clumsy like me, sometimes these can get knocked over.
Butterfingers.
And you don't know what you can't remember what you've unlocked and what you haven't unlocked and stuff like that. So this is a complaint that I had about when I did Underwater Cities, because he does the same thing where you upgrade you upgrade your buildings, you have to stack them on top, but you accidentally just do a little bit of a bump or something. They fly over. I don't know why Euro games keep doing this.
It's a dexterity game too.
So, I'll leave it at that. The setup of this game is a bear. I'm going to put it that. You have to put all those influence cubes onto their appropriate spots at the top of the board. You have to shuffle the combat tiles. You have to shuffle the quest tiles. There's 3 separate decks of cards that you have to shuffle. And one of those decks of cards, you only use 40 out of like what seems like a bazillion cards in that particular deck.
That's good though. That's a good thing.
So that you have your deck A, you have your deck B. Sometimes you might have some deck C cards, and you have to shuffle them all together. And then to tear down the game, well, you got to sort them all out afterwards. And they're very kind of, I don't know, for me, they're hard to distinguish because they're a different kind of brown around the edge of the card, and that's what distinguishes it from one deck from another. So that's just a little
ropes. Right. Yeah.
That's just a little component thing that, kind of bugs me. Rule book. It's actually pretty good. It does a nice job outlining the flow of return. This is a much different rule book than Great Western Trail.
It's a good thing.
It actually outlines the flow and what you need to be able to do for every action. But at the same time, it has the flaw that it's quite wordy. And I don't know how you get around that, though, with a complex game like this. You're going to need lots of description. So I'll admit that I did not learn this game from the rule book. I watched the John Gets Games do his run through first, and then I read the rule book to reinforce some of those ideas. Mainly because I don't know. It's just,
I do that method a lot.
It's so there's so many. It's so long. I got the rule book right here. How many pages is this baby? Whoops. Where are we? Oh, I don't even know. We got.
It's large. Let's just say it's large.
It's a long rule book.
Just so the listeners know, Ryan was also trying to get out of teaching us the game by sending us the link to the rules videos as well.
Yeah. What was that?
Said, you're teaching me the game.
Come on.
Unfair. That was our previous discussion too. I was like, oh, I wonder what Ian would have to say about this if I sent him the link.
Yeah.
Leave me the game.
Yeah, let's play Maracaibo. I'll teach it to you. Here's the link. You can learn it yourself.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that gameplay.
Yeah.
This is where Maracaibo really shines, in my opinion. I'll caveat this, though. Once you know what you're doing, which I think I'm comfortable at this point, this game flows beautifully. But those first games where you're trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to be doing, it's going to be a rough time. And the game is going to take a long time to play.
Pulling levers and pushing buttons.
Like I said, if you play heavier, more complex games, which I kind of tend to gravitate towards nowadays, you're going to pick up the flow and synergies of this game after a game or two. I play lots of these styles of games. And so now I don't need to reference the rule book anymore. But this is a complex, deep game. And there's a lot of little intricacies and things that are going on that if you're not into complex games, you're going to struggle a little bit in the beginning with this one. But I find that finding the synergies is what's appealing to me in this game.
Yeah.
The card play and tableau building. This has been done before, though. Unlocking special abilities, that's been done. Gaining influence on tracks, that's been done. But like I said with Great Western Trail, this is all one nice cohesive package again.
Yeah.
Alexander Pfister is, I think, the master of taking a whole bunch of little intricate mechanisms and blending them together into like a nice gameplay experience.
Yeah.
I liked, we talked about this already. I liked that movement of 1 to 7 spaces. This is pretty neat because the players dictate the pace of the game in the game round. Some players may choose to move slowly, taking more actions.
We can talk about the gas. We can talk about the gas pedal later.
Norm likes to just race around.
We talk about the NOS kit later on. Yeah.
Like I said, some may move fast and skip to the end of the movement track very quickly, denying other players the potential of taking more actions.
Come on, you got to keep up.
You have to consider that when you're kind of planning out your round and who you're playing with.
Yeah, but Ian, you were right there beside me, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Quite a bit of variability in the cards that are selected game to game. Like I said, you've got that massive stack, but you only select 40 cards to mix in with the kind of like the base set cards. That's quite a neat. And then there's different city tiles that are randomized on the board. The variability is quite high in this game, I think. This episode is proudly supported by Mr. Dice Guy online board game retailer located right here in Saskatoon. Mr. Dice Guy is always stocking the hot new titles, as well as restocking all-time favorites.
They even have a ding and dent section for previously played titles. They offer free shipping across Canada on all orders over $200 or free local pickup if you're in the Saskatoon area. Check them out at MrDiceGuy.com. Saskatoon's Mr. Nice Guy is Mr. Dice Guy.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
what I have found, which is something, the most beautiful thing that I think about this game, is the story mode. This is kind of cool. So this is something that Alexander Pfister is no stranger to at this point. But I think this is the first game that he's done it the best in. And that's going to be that's my opinion. Story introduces story quests, and that you need to fulfill them in order to progress the story. And at the end of the round, something in the world of Maracaibo is going to change. Most notably, it's going to change locations on the board and give you new quests or objectives that you need to complete in order to progress the story. This is really, really kind of cool because it changes the board state a little bit. So in some locations, you have to stop in, much like the Great Western Trail, like the hand stops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to stop. Or some paths are now going to require more movement points in order to go down those paths. Or some locations now have quests on them. And they're not something you want to ignore. They actually reward you very, very nicely to completing these story quests or and some of these things. So very much worth pursuing. The story mode is really kind of cool. We're into chapter 3 of, I think it's a 10 chapter, 11 chapter story. So
Cool.
it's kind of cool. I'm not going to say anything about the story. It's actually kind of neat. I'm invested in this story now. Okay, let's get to my conclusions. There's a lot to like about Maracaibo. There's very solid design by a designer that I pay attention to when he releases new games. Is there anything unique about Maracaibo? No. Tableau building and finding synergies between cards. I have Terraforming Mars and Underwater Cities. Like, those are great tableau building games.
Yep.
Unlocking player board special abilities. I've got Scythe, Great Western Trail, Gaia Project. I got those things. Moving up on tracks to gain points. Mombasa, Coimbra. I've got these games. Why am I drawn to Maracaibo? And it's that thing that I said. He's the master of meshing all of these things into one complete package. It's so cool. And I'm going to say this here. I think as of right now, this is Alexander Pfister's magnum opus. This is his game. This is his game. And it's too bad that it's so complex. There's going to be a lot of gamers that are going to miss out on this game because of how daunting or complex this game looks. I think this is his best game to date. And I own all of his other games except for Blackout. Blackout Hong Kong. Ian.
Subtitle.
I will argue that the story mode is the best way to play this game. All the little things that it adds without complicating the game any further is another reason what makes me keep coming back. It's not legacy, so you can just play it over and over, or you can pick and choose chapters to play. I do get hung up on the fiddliness of the components. That's a drawback. But if there's only a way to fix it. Yeah, there is a way to fix it. You have to buy an insert, which I did. So here I go. Move over Great Western Trail. You're getting bumped to the middle shelf.
Oh,
Maracaibo, you're now in the place of Great Western Trail in my mind. You're on the top shelf.
Oh, just because the cows don't have a backstory.
Now, if he comes up with an expansion that adds the story mode to Great Western Trail, we might have a fight on our hands.
I'm gonna write a City Slickers module to Great Western Trail.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Dibs.
I
I
want
got
that.
dibs. Yeah.
I want that.
So I got a couple things to say.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, let's introduce the fact that we, as a trio, we played this just recently.
That's what I was going to say. All three of us played this together. Also, I want to say Blackout in Hong Kong fixes that really easily. Just put in Blackout in Hong Kong. Anyway. Yeah, we all play this together. I actually, personally, that idea of the assistants making a special spot for you and you alone, I think that's unique. Now, that might be just because I personally haven't seen that anywhere, but I think that's actually a pretty
Oh,
unique thing.
at the islands where you can stop off and
Yeah,
get,
where you put your people
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and yeah,
Well, I mean, that would kind of like be like a building, right? I mean, that's your building.
Yeah.
That's right.
that's what Ryan is saying. Is
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
he says it is similar to Great Western Trail with the buildings, but
I found a lot of DNA of Great Western Trail in this game, and not necessarily like, trying to like camouflage it, but that whole, like Ryan said, it's like taking that mixology and going, all right, let's get this feel of mixology and go and
we're not going to do
adapt it to because we said what were some of the other ones with the tracks, Mombasa.
Mombasa is an Alexander Pfister design, and he has like where you have those influence tracks in the different companies.
Yeah, and so and to me that stock track was very reminiscent of the Spain, France, and England tracks, right?
Yeah.
The what was the bottom of the board? The movement,
that exploration track.
To me, that was like the train, right? If you can push your train down, it's beneficial, but that's not the be all end all of the game, right? I saw a lot of really good DNA in this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have compared Maracaibo to Great Western Trail in those regards, and rightfully so. There is, like you said, but I think he took what he developed in a smash hit of Great Western Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm not poo-pooing on Great. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
It's ranked number 10 right now on BGG
for
overall.
a reason.
For a reason. It's a solid game.
Yeah.
So when I played this week too, I played Maracaibo a whole bunch of times. I played Great Western Trail a whole bunch of times, and I found after I played the two back to back, I found Great Western Trail as a complex game as it is. I found it as a lighter experience, like a lighter gameplay.
Okay.
I found my decision spaces in Great Western Trail much more limited than I was in Maracaibo. And that's because in Great Western Trail, I was only able to move, as long as it's upgraded, I can move a maximum of 5 spaces. But for most of the game, I'm only moving 1, 2, or 3 spaces. And so my actions are kind of already dictated. Whereas in Maracaibo, having to move 1 to 7 spaces all the time, I was more free.
And to leap off that, what I thought was very interesting too is in Great Western Trail, once you get to a delivery, that round doesn't stop. You just keep ringing the bell, and that advances its own kind of end of game timer. But I really like Maracaibo, where it was like, you get to the end of this track and you ring that bell, it's done.
Everybody gets one more turn.
So that one round where you were like, whoa, what are you doing? Whoa. Right. And it was because I had that special power of, if I move so many spaces, I get 3 village actions.
Yeah, you upgraded your village actions ratio.
So all of these little timing, and I was doing the deliveries, I think, or the quests. Yeah. So everything worked out. And I'm like, I'm stepping on the gas. And then I think once Ian saw that I came around the corner and I was going to step on the gas, he was like, I'm right behind you. And that's when you had those dust. Yeah, that's when Ryan had started dropping his villagers on his island. And it was like, you got no time to stop, buddy. We're going. No pee break. There's no pee breaks. Let's go.
One island with three assistants on it.
Oh yeah, and it was a difficult choice for you too, wasn't it?
Yeah, every time I stopped at that, I'm like, well, which one of these 3 do I activate? You can only activate one of them. But for the other ones that you don't activate, you actually get victory points if you don't actually end up activating them.
Left behind. That was to me that was fun, because it was sort of like, because typically in Euros there's not really a take. You don't see that much take that. But to me, this wasn't really a take that. This was, hey, guess what? I'm forcibly making you hurry up, because if you don't.
And I liked Ian's comment is that after that round, Ian's like, okay, next round, let's not go so fast. I ran out of money.
Yeah. And I said, okay. And I came out of the gates with a move of 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about Pfister's different other games and how they're similar. And I definitely think he's got an MO, right? Like you can tell one of his games when you're playing it. And I think it's because he's got all this disparate parts that come together. I don't know that they mesh as well as you guys say that they do, though. I'm
cool.
not feeling that.
Counterpoint.
But this is, keep in mind that I've only played Maracaibo once. I've only played Great Western Trail once. I've only played Mombasa once. I definitely felt that with Mombasa. I thought that it was just a lot of different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely feel those pieces as being different pieces. I'm not sure I see the melding of them as much as you guys do.
Like the moment that you said pieces got me thinking about like a Vital Lacerda game. He's got a lot of these peripheral pieces that you need to have these things like a puzzle box lined up and click, right?
Yeah, and I was actually I was thinking about that. I was thinking of Vinos, and I'm thinking Vinos has a crap load of pieces as well. But I actually think I like the way that he blends them together. Like I really think that all comes together as a cohesive whole.
I understand Vital's brain.
Yeah. I think that this is almost there, but I'm not quite sure it's on that same level as a Lacerda.
Oh no, these are not on the. I agree completely 100% with that. Lacerda is almost like you got to follow a formula in order to try to figure out the puzzle of, okay, I need to do this, then I need to do this, and that's going to ultimately result in me being able to do this.
Yeah.
Backwards engineer your first move.
Yeah.
Cool.
But because I think with Vino specifically, it all goes back to the wine, right? It's all centered around the wine. And so everything fits towards that main goal of making the best wines you can.
And that makes sense.
We should talk about, though, with this game, because all three of us played it, and we were within 3 points of each other.
We were,
right?
Yeah, our final results.
And we were not really doing the same thing.
No.
Like I was doing that exploration track, and you guys kind of just stopped doing that at one point.
I was last on that track.
I was pushing that, right? I decided, hey, I'm going to go heavy on that. And Ryan, you were going heavy on, actually both of you were going pretty heavy on the military track, right? The England, France, Spain track.
Only because it was connected to my end of game victory point card.
Yeah.
Right. That to me, that was the only reason. And
that was another thing that I haven't brought up, that there are 4 end of game victory point cards that you can invest in, in gameplay, and we all kind of invested in those in the
I think we all
round
maxed out our strategies. Like we all did very well in our strategies. Like you said, Ryan won, and then there was a space, and then there was me, and then you. So
we went bang bang bang.
Oh, we were 1, 2, 3, weren't we? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was very, very close game.
Cool.
And it's not like a 12-point game. It's like 100 and some points, and we were still within 3 points. So I think that's a sign of a nice balanced game with different strategies.
Yeah, and at that time too, that was both of your first plays, and that was only my second play of Maracaibo at that time. So we were all relatively newish.
Yeah, I played that game again. Absolutely. Cool. Cool. So it's Alexander Pfister episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was. Yeah, I brought a Broom Service, and then Great Western Trail, Maracaibo. This is a designer. People pay attention to when he comes over, which he does have a new game coming out.
And he's got a great track record too.
Yeah. But he says he puts in his new one. I think it's called Cloud Age.
Oh, that's right.
It's coming out from Capstone. But he says he's putting it more on a weight level of like, he went on, it's on quote, he putting Cloud Age on a weight level of like wingspan. He's like, it's like a wingspan family weight.
Okay.
So it should win the best dungeon diver. Oh, me, sorry.
It'll win the best podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you've made it this far, you've made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening to us. I am your host, Norm.
I've been Ryan.
I'm Ian.
And we'll catch you later. We are Bridge City Board Gamers, and you can find us on Twitter at BC Board Gamers, on Facebook, Bridge City Board Gamer Community, and on YouTube at Bridge City Board Gamers. You can also find us on BGG Guild number 3039.